Yeah, the Yom Kippur War, how traumatic. It was coordinated, massive surprise attack. Egypt and Syria, they were sandwiched between those attacks on the holiest, on the quietest day of the Jewish calendar, when the whole country was fasting, the whole country was in synagogues. It's the Christmas and Easter of the Jewish world, even if you're not religious, you're in a synagogue. And it was a catastrophe because they hadn't mobilized any of their reserves. They weren't ready. The regular standing army that they had was completely overrun. And in the opening days of the war, the Syrian tanks broke through the Golan Heights and they were literally rolling towards the Sea of Galilee. The Egyptian army, they crossed the Suez Canal and decimated the Israelis there.
Yeah, Defense Minister at the time, Moshe Dayan, allegedly told Golda Meir at the time that, in his words, the Third Temple, which he meant the modern state of Israel, was in danger of falling. Of course, that's got a lot of history to it, with the Romans destroying the Second Temple. The tragedy that was that led to Masada, which, by the way, is a massive part of the Israeli psychology, especially in the IDF training. They take a trip to Masada. The lesson they learn there is never again. If you know a little bit about the history of the story of Masada, you understand why they take the military there. But anyway, 1973, they were staring into the abyss of national annihilation. And eventually, they did turn the tide. They did win the war militarily, but the psychological cost, it was unimaginable. There were thousands of young soldiers dead. So yeah, the trauma of 1973 completely shattered this conceptia, this kind of blindness. And when you really look at it, it's actually quite a human thing. This conceptia, this blindness, psychologists actually call it social conformity. It's that kind of pressure to go along with the room, even when something in you is quietly saying, hang on a minute, this isn't right. I felt that, you start to subconsciously adjust your own kind of judgment to keep things smooth. You don't push against what everyone else seems to expect, even though deep down your instinct hasn't moved. And then the moment comes and you realise you were right and you saw it and you knew, but you let yourself get pressured into the position that really wasn't right for you, maybe was dangerous for you, and it backfired on you. And the hard part at the end of the day, no one really cares, and the consequence lands on you completely.
Yeah, you're left with the realisation that you should have acted on what you saw. You shouldn't have worried about pleasing everyone else for your own sake.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of lesson. It doesn't just pass, does it? It embeds itself in you.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, so when the blackboard is full of its existential facts, waiting is now not prudent diplomacy. It wasn't in 67. It certainly wasn't in 73. And that's the lesson of 73 that we are projecting forward to now. Waiting is a delusion, gets your children killed. You can't trust international guarantees over your own intelligence, and saving face is not worth it.
And to a bigger level, that last point, and it's sad to say, but because of the environment at the moment where Israel is painted quite negatively, no one actually will care. Actually, a lot of people will be celebrating, and they know that. So yeah.
I think it's time for another break. And when we come back, we're gonna fast forward to March 2026 and have a look at a little bit more of the blackboard that Israel are seeing.